Evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 29th, 2024 meeting of the Board of School Directors. Todd, could you do us a favor and mute just for a sec? We can hear your background. He'll get there. This meeting, somebody can text him. This meeting is also available via Zoom webinar, live stream, and is being recorded with sound for public broadcast. All participants joining via the webinar will need to use the chat feature, which will be enabled during audience recognition period of the meeting. If you are attending this meeting in person, you should be aware that other attendees in the audience may be recording at this time. This is permitted under the Sunshine Act, which means that any remarks that you make, even those at your seat, may be recorded by other members of the public during the meeting. The board believes it's in the best interest of all of us to hear from all audience members, and we welcome public comment during audience recognition. We'll let you know when that happens. And that is generally it. Okay, real quick, a rundown and update of what we're going to do tonight. We're going to have some conversation around staffing in the main office. We're also going to have a conversation and a full board discussion, including people in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, on the search firm for the next superintendent. So that's the general president's update. Thank you all for being here. Happy July. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Schaefer for an update. Do you have any update?
I can do it now, or I'll do it closer to the time of the.
Whatever you want.
Do we go for public comment first?
We feel like there's nothing to comment on yet.
I'm happy to step in and say hello to everyone as I resume the post of acting superintendent. It's certainly an honor always to serve this community and serve along with this board. This evening, as Dr. Sautner mentioned, there are some administrative changes that I'm recommending to help move our work forward, and some of that important work that we're seeing come to fruition is our full-day kindergarten program, our Healthy Start Time initiative, and just getting ready for school to start. And you know, as I look around, I can't believe it's almost August, and so we have just a few weeks to get ourselves ready and welcome our students back, and we're certainly excited about that. So I'm going to highlight some of those changes as we get to that part of the agenda, but I just wanted to say that, as I said to staff, you know, it's certainly something, you know, our work consumes a lot of my thinking time, and certainly has this summer. And, you know, I think in this moment, as we think through all the changes that we've been through and where we're headed, that, you know, a priority for me is to think about organizational health and stability. And I think the board is all on board with that as well. So we move forward with a great degree of care and thought in these decisions. And I know everyone's interest is aligned with our students, you know, putting our students first and our community. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. The agenda is short and sweet tonight. It's a little awkward where audience recognition falls, but before I forget for the second time, the board is remiss in talking about how happy we are that Megan Schaefer is taking on this acting position. We did not address that the last time when we voted you in, and I wanted to just take a moment. Thank you for all the work that you've done throughout the year, but also in the last what it feels like 6 months, but it's only been probably 30 to 40 days. So thank you so much for taking on this role and helping spearhead this district into the next realm of where we go. So at this point in time, we will hear public comment. If you would like to speak at tonight's meeting, you have to sign out with Ms. LaPera. If you haven't done that yet, please do so now. For those of you joining us via webinar, the chat feature will now be open, so you will have 10 minutes. A timer will appear on your screen. Please submit your comments and your questions via the chat feature. Be sure to include your full name and where you reside in the district, just the neighborhood that you reside in, and your comments will be shared. Do we have any in-person comments? No. Maybe we should have put 5.
We do not have any in-person comment, and I think there's only a few people that have joined us via the webinar, so we'll wait and see if there's any there.
Well, Ruth will be sad to miss your in-person comments tonight, but thank you for being here. We might give you another second option later. But we can do this if we want to. If there's any public comments after the discussion around the search firm, I'm going to open it back up and let that happen because that's the real meat and heart of the conversation tonight. And I want to make sure we give that public First Amendment comment its due process. Okay, let's move on to the next part. So we are not doing a consent agenda tonight, so we're going to pull everything off of the consent agenda. So first things up, recommended action. I think you read this section. It's not read.
All right, I should have practiced more.
Right?
So the first item under recommended action, do we want to do the search first? And before we do the, okay. I will move then to, it is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the memorandum of agreement between the Lower Merion School District and the Lower Merion Education Association reflecting new and changed terms of the current collective bargaining agreement, which terms are to be effective July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2027. It is further recommended that the administration is authorized to update and revise the collective bargaining agreement accordingly.
Are there any questions from the board? No? Melanie and Todd, our two board members, are both online, so I just want to take a moment, let them unmute and ask, do you two have any, either of one of you have any questions?
No.
No, we're all good.
Okay. Really clear there. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Yay, clapping. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. We want to just take a moment and pause and thank the entire team and all the teachers that we have in the district and the school support staff and all of the bus drivers, all the staff that has really worked so hard to get us to this point. It's been a bit of a journey, but we know we've landed in a really great spot. So I just want to comment and thank everybody for that hard work. Next up is a discussion around the search firm for the superintendent. I'm going to just dive into this right now because that's not really exactly what we're doing.
Do I make the recommendation first, right?
You can ask for a motion first and a second, or you can, before you have a discussion, or if you don't, I mean, it's totally fine to have a discussion and open it up, but it's up to you.
So I think typically we start with, are there any questions from the board?
Right.
So I'd like to start there, if that's okay with you, Ken?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of a prequel into this, little setup, and then we'll dive into if there's any questions from the board. So for all the audience listening in person and online, I wanted to give you a little bit of a beat on the process that we took around the search firm work. We received 5 different bids, 5 different organizations bid for the search firm work. The entire board reviewed those bids and moved along 3 different candidates for interviews. We interviewed those 3 different candidates, reviewed all the material and sent them different additional questions and gathered all of that material. This is a really important process that we are legally, but also really want the community engaged in our thought process around this. And we have come to the table with 3 different search firms that we're highly interested in: HYA, McPherson, and the MCIU. Those are the 3 that we're discussing. So what I'd like to hear from around the board is go one by one and go through each one of you. Who's your top candidate and why out of those 3? And if there is any additional pros that you would like to lean on with other candidates. So really just get a reflection from each of you of where you sit on those top 3 candidates. You can really just focus on the one that you'd like to move forward or some combination of that. So who would like to go first? Sarah?
Sure, I'll go first. My top candidate would be the MCIU. I think that they have a lot of knowledge about not only our district, but the county and the state as well. They've worked with a lot of other school districts in the area recently and have conducted successful searches. They're also invested in supporting us as a board and the future superintendent working together over the next few years together. So for those reasons, that would be my choice.
Thank you, Sarah. Abby, do you want to go next?
I also found the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, which is MCIU, to be the most impressive. I appreciated all of the things that Sarah said already, but I also liked their process. I found them to be the most, they had the clearest kind of picture of what success looks like and how to really go about finding a best fit candidate. Also, their ongoing support would be great, both for the board and also for the district. They are invested in the success of everyone here, and they're being so local, I think, really kind of hit it home for me. So that's my vote.
Anna, you're next.
This wasn't planned like this. It feels like a team building event that we add on our next thought. Yeah, exactly. Yes, and my choice also would be the MCIU. What I would offer is their structure and process was quite comprehensive, and they were the only firm that presented a process that was inclusive of district administrators and staff members and teachers being included, of community members, not just sitting in roundtables, but actually like sitting and being part of asking interview questions with board observing, which is great practice. And they also have national reach. So while they had a great track record of selecting superintendents in the tri-state area, multiple candidates over the past few years, they also have access to every MCIU across the entire country through their network and other national advertising. And while McPherson and HYA also shared that they have national access, what I found missing was their ability to translate how that had all actually translated into results and or placing candidates from a local pool or a more national pool. And so I found both of those things to be the most compelling and would recommend that we go with MCIU.
Thank you. Shannon, would you like next?
I'm going to jump on the IU train also. One of my favorite things when I'm talking to people in all sorts of walks of life is competence. And I just felt in talking in that interview, the people we were talking to knew not only what they were doing, how to do it, but they knew the people that they would be hiring from the pool of, and they knew us. They demonstrated a real understanding of LMSD and our situation. I really liked that they had a process planned out, but built in opportunities for flexibility to really get us into the right kind of process that would work for our district and specifically for our board, since we are hiring somebody that we work incredibly closely with. They're obviously very networked through the area, and I'll be honest, from our research, most superintendents are from this, you hire from the region that you're in. And so while a further reach is great, the past sort of demonstrates that you want to have that really strong local network also. They demonstrated a strong recent history of hiring both male and female, an equal number of male and female superintendents, which I think would be a real strong thing for us to have as a district that has never had a permanent female superintendent. Permanent. I always toot your horn, as it were. That's a really weird turn of phrase. I'm going to keep talking. And they just had a really great understanding both of us in the education side, but also performing the search. Like they had a real way of getting at asking questions, of vetting to get to certain things that were kind of difficult to get to in interviews. And I really liked the responses on that. I I was very, very confident in them. And that also, their fees are, I believe, included in our IU membership, correct?
Most of their fees are included in the support structure they give our county and our school district. There are direct marketing fees that will be needed to be put out by the district, which is average around $5,000 to $10,000 on average.
Yeah, and that would be for all of the firms that we would be considering.
So, well, it's incorporated into the McPherson full package. Their average is going to wind up closer to being around $50,000 in ballpark settings. That $10,000 would be embedded into it.
Right.
And then HYA was the firm that we used in the past, but so because the last sitting superintendent did not stay a year, that would be a reduced fee closer to $28,000, and that includes the marketing. Just to give me a moment to put all those numbers. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So while not free, because advertising is never free, it is the only expenditures we would incur would be included in the other fees from the others, and so it would be a significantly less, to my mind, they are significantly the least expensive option and the best option also, which in my mind is a win-win.
Do Melanie and Todd?
No, we're going to go to them last. We'll do Mel very last, and then I'll do the very end. You can go next.
So I thought MCIU was excellent. I thought that they were, they brought a lot to the table for what everyone had said before. My only hesitation was the reach that they have. With follow-up questions, it seemed like they were limited to just the local area compared to McPherson that has a little bit of a larger and more national presence in candidates that they've actually brought into the process, as well as the success at the end of it. I was interested, and I know that we had explored whether or not this was a possibility of utilizing possibly McPherson as, you know, our actual search firm, but then also consulting with MCIU, since they do have that localized approach and that personalized component where they know us really well and could help us kind of facilitate through the process. So it would be the benefit of having both companies kind of working in tandem as opposed to just going with one. So you would have McPherson potentially leading the search. And I think a lot of what was commented before about the success and the things that people liked about MCIU, I would say was very similar to my feelings with McPherson, with their both success, both here as well as nationally, and their attention to detail and talented. And then MCIU at no additional cost would be our consultant through the process and be able to help us through and navigate as well.
Okay, so you're doing a mix? Just to clarify for everybody, you're prompting a mix with McPherson in lead and MCIU as supporting tool.
My understanding is that that was a viable option from both sides had agreed to that, that could be a potential option. So yes, that would be.
I think we're going to have a lot of options on the table by the end of this conversation. So we've got MCIU alone. We have McPherson alone, and we'll see what the rest of the three people put out there. And this is a third option, which would be McPherson in the primary role and MCIU in a secondary supporting role. Just want to make it real clear and transparent. And Kimberly, you are up next.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to be succinct. MCIU, I think someone who has the local leadership and relationships with people here is going to be best for us overall. I think a national search, we'd be spending even more money than we have to pay for this person to be transferred to Pennsylvania. It's going to be a lot more expensive to me, in my opinion, if we went the McPherson first and MCIU, second. So I think that we should lead with MCIU because they are from Pennsylvania. They work with the district currently, and we would save a ton of money.
Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, next up is Todd. Todd, would you like to come with your thoughts on this process or on the choice?
Yeah, you guys hear me okay? So I just switched my phone. Can you guys hear me before I start?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Great. All right. So Curry knows this, but over the past couple of weeks, I did have an opportunity to get on the phone and spend several hours talking to some very informative folks regarding all of this. So I talked to, McPherson recently did a large search, a successful search in Howard County, Maryland, which actually is where I grew up and I went to school there. It's a $1 billion school district. I talked to the president there, Jennifer Mallow. I also had long conversations with two other board members, Jackie McCoy and Antonia Watts. Mostly interested in answering the following question, like how successful or how impactful was the national reach of McPherson? Did they actually deliver viable, high quality candidates from beyond the immediate region? And it was very clear from all three of them that they absolutely did. They had really high quality finalists from several, not just one, but from multiple states up and down the East Coast and the Midwest. They were overall very happy with their experience. There was one component of the video interview that did not technically work very well for them. But bottom line is they had a lot of diverse, high quality candidates from a wide geographic representation that they were very happy with. I then called Amherst Pelham, Massachusetts, who was another 2024 search from the same McPherson team that would be working with us. I talked to Jennifer Schau, who's the chair of what they call a committee up there. They don't have school boards, they have school committees. I also talked to Sarah Marshall, who said the same thing, that they had a very diverse range of applicants. They actually ended up hiring someone, a woman from the Virgin Islands, actually, to come up to Massachusetts. And that was successfully orchestrated by McPherson. They liked most of the process. There was a couple things that they would have tweaked a little differently. We can have that discussion. But the bottom line is, up and down the board, I talked to, I guess, 5 different people that were heavily involved in these 2 searches. And everyone who absolutely thought that McPherson delivered on their the diversity range and geographic diversity of their applicants. Then I also had a chance to talk to both Brad Landis and Regina Speaker at the MCIU. Delightful, really bright people. And I would like to see them get engaged too. They offered to help in whatever way that they thought would be most useful for the district. My concern with them is, we did post, a Curry sent them a series of questions to which they responded very quickly. Actually, everyone, by the way, McPherson said that up and down the line, whenever they had questions, they were highly responsive. Same thing with MCIU. But we asked MCIU the following question. Curry, I think you actually wrote the question, but did your network of connections lead to any long distance finalists for any superintendent job in the past 3 years? They wrote back a one-word answer, no, didn't. And that was consistent with the conversation I had with Dr. James Lee, who was chairman of the school board in Lower Moreland, who just completed a search with MCIU. He said they had 0 applicants from beyond the local region. They were happy with who they got locally, but they had 0. So my concern is, look, I think we owe it to the community, to the teachers, to the students, to do everything we can to find the best possible person for this critical job. This person could come internally. This could come from some surrounding district, as we've done for the past several superintendents. I understand most superintendents do, but they don't all. And it's my feeling that we should at least look and make a real effort on a nationwide search. I don't think it's that much money in the grand scheme of things. So and I talked to MCIU, like, would you be willing to work with a national thing to expand the reach? And they said, absolutely, we'd be happy to do that, whatever works for the district. I asked Ralph Ferry, who's the East Coast director for McPherson, would you ever be interested in working with the MCs? Oh, we do that all the time. That's one of our first things, is to reach out. As long as they're willing to work with us, we're flexible. So everyone seems to be on board with that idea. I can go into a lot more detail on the conversations that I've had with these folks, but my strong recommendation would be is that we utilize both resources here both the national reach of McPherson with some of the local knowledge of MCIU. I don't see why these have to be mutually exclusive. I do think there's real opportunity for synergy between those. And that would be my vote.
Thank you, really appreciate that. Melanie, would you like to give us your thoughts?
Yes, thanks. I'm jumping on the MCIU bandwagon. I feel they're much less corporate in answering the questions. It's funny, Todd and I read the same answers. I had a completely different reaction to McPherson's reaction. I felt they gave us a list across the country of things, but I felt like it was like the same as MCIU giving a list of every intermediate unit or regional education units that called in other states across the country and claiming that's who they were able to hire. I mean, they have also in answer to the question about did they tap anybody, I had to read an entire precedent that basically used the getting to know slowly rather than just getting to the point. I just feel it's much more corporate and much more a feeling of they're just there to, they want to do what they want to do, but it's basically from a headhunter perspective. From the MCIU's they have an intricate understanding of our district, which has already been said, but also in working with other MCI units, those units also have an intricate understanding and working with those principals that may be, another one may be be work for us well. But I think the only one that brought me to them is that when they said, we want to do what's best for the students. And that's what brings, and MCIU with everything else they have, I think they want to do what's best for the students. And I think they have enough of a national reach that we don't need to partner with McPherson. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Mel, appreciate it. Okay, so now I get to weigh in on this. I feel like I'm gonna sound like a positive Pollyanna here, but I agree with what everybody said. I think I think it's so nice to hear such strong alignment on these pieces. I'm gonna just weigh in with option number 4, and I apologize for this part. I think MCIU has the strongest process. I think putting students first was a key to me as well, Mel. I agree with you at that. Incorporating the voice and the process around how do we engage our community, how do we engage our teachers, how do we engage our school systems, that was really powerful for me, that it was going to be a collaborative but also respectful conversation with these candidates. What I also thought was really impressive about MCIU was them fully engaging in conversations, and just by listening to the questions that we were asking, they were already picking up on both the excellent pieces we have going on for this school district as well as the challenges. So they were very in tune to us and felt like they had been in some of the conversations already. So I absolutely love that. I do, however, and here's my but, it's more of a yes and. I do think the headhunting around the nation is a very good thing to have. I think so often superintendents come from the local community, come from 100-mile radius. I agree with that. But I also think we've gone through multiple superintendents now, and we're gonna dive into a very long process in a time of year that we can actually take our time, because we won't be able to place people quickly in this time of year. Doing some work, moving that forward and doing as broad as a net would be a good thing. So my 4th option to put on the table is I'd actually like MCIU to run this process and McPherson to step in and use their headhunting skills in support of MCIU's work and complement it. So I'm flipping that script in a different direction because I think that's what they would be excellent at. And they are very open to this, and so is MCIU, because they see this as a collaborative way to really gain market in this area. Let's be open and transparent about that. So it's a win-win for us. We get to leverage both, and the cost is much lower than it would be if McPherson ran it primarily. But really, my point is, I think MCIU is the best candidate. They just need that boost of support and amplification across the nation. So there's my thought on it. What I want to do first before we go into discussion and round 2 of this is cut something off the table really quickly. Does anybody want to move HYA forward? No. Okay, so we're all in agreement on that. So HYA is off the list. We have 4 options. And I know this is getting tricky and complicated, but any questions?
Did we have 3 options? I thought Todd wanted McPherson with MCIU as the support, and so we didn't have any for just McPherson.
Okay, so you're right.
I could be
Thank you,
wrong.
Shayna, you're right. Let's cut that off too. We don't have, and so we have 3 options. So your options on the table, people, are MCIU alone, McPherson with support of MCIU, and option 3 is MCIU as primary with McPherson support. They're the 3 options. Questions, discussions? This is where it gets tricky. I wish we had a voting poll service. Go right ahead, Anna.
I have a few questions. One is I'm wondering what the cost would be for McPherson to support the MCIU. My other question is, I am not aware of any evidence that candidates from further away do better as superintendents, and so I'd be curious about that data. I'm in alignment with the headhunting you want to Farnet, and also personally, I value the process MCIU has in context of engaging the entire community more than what McPherson is saying they do in terms of a Farnet. I was unimpressed with their inability and lack of data in placing local candidates to Pennsylvania even, besides, I think the closest was Pittsburgh 6 years ago. My question would be, how do we know that McPherson, if what we're focused on is wide net, is McPherson top of class in nationwide headhunting? Do we know that? Is there evidence for that? Are there other firms that maybe we consider? Would the MCIU be willing, knowing that's a concern of ours, to focusing additional resources or focus in that area? And is that something we could come back to if we were not getting a diverse, robust pool of candidates and add at a later date? Those are a lot of questions.
No, I was like, wow, you said that I have a question.
Sorry.
I'll try to work through this for what I know, and then please feel free, anybody else wants to chime in and add to this, go right ahead. I agree with you. I don't think there is any strong evidence around the nation in education where when superintendents come from across the country that there is a better outcome. I think it can be very tricky for superintendents. I think most superintendents are typically placed, like I said, the data does show that they are typically placed in a 100-mile radius, but that also could be the fact that most search firms place in that 100-mile radius. MCIU definitely did say they have a network of intermediate units that they could reach out to across the country. But when we did ask them about their data, they were really honest about it. Like, that's not their strength. That's not what they do. They will do that work for us, but it's not been a huge ROI for them. I think there's also a secondary question around, are we tapped out of superintendents that are strong in this region that have already been placed? I think that's another question that is kind of energizing the national reach. I don't think I can answer all your questions because I lost a couple of them, but the cost that McPherson came back with as support of MCIU using their national network and using their headhunting was $7,500. And they do have robust data to show that their reach is also very broad from their website and from their other partnerships. So they do have a lot of credibility in that reach.
Corey, can I
That's
interrupt? Just in the document you sent the board, it said that there was 7,500 halfway through the search and then an additional 7,500 at the end, so it would be 15,000.
15, thank you very much for that math issue. Thank you both for catching that. So it would be 15,000. So anybody else have questions or want to add in their thoughts on this?
Can we just have a recap of the different cost breakdowns and specify?
So MCIU alone would be around $10,000 for marketing, ballpark that. McPherson alone, well, we're not going for McPherson alone, so we're out. So McPherson plus MCIU would be closer to $25,000. Am I getting that right, math people? Yep, okay, now that I got the number right. And that's it.
And well, MCIU plus McPherson.
Yes. MCIU plus McPherson would then be 15,000.
So
Right.
McPherson as the lead and MCIU would be that around $50,000 because MCIU would be the support structure and they wouldn't be, their only cost is direct marketing costs. So that would go into the McPherson plan, not into the MCIU plan. So that's still around 50,000.
So it's 10, 50, or 25.
Yep.
Okay.
Did we get that right?
No,
So-
I think if McPherson, I think MCIU, you'd have to pay for advertising, so it'd be
Yeah.
15 plus.
No, that would be the 10.
Right, so it'd be like 25 if you did McPherson. If you did MCIU leading and McPherson aiding, it would be roughly 25,000.
Yeah, that's what we said.
That's right, okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
so I'll just say it again because we're all, MCIU alone is 10,000. McPherson plus MCIU as support is 50, around, and these are ballparks, people, around 50,000. And MCIU leading with McPherson as a support would be around 25,000.
Melanie has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Melanie?
Yeah, sorry.
can go ahead. That's
Unmute button issues, you know. Um, I can see where you're going with this. I like the idea of MCU in the lead and using McPherson as headhunters, but MCIU had some access to networks that McPherson didn't. Would they, in working together, work together to give access to both networks?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess, like, going off of Mel, that's what my question really stems around, the actual brass tacks of managing their partnership. Like, is the MOU coming through us and we're billing them? Is it vice versa? Who is managing and accountable to what? And in my mind, it seems a little bit murky of the value add versus just giving them money for database when I'm not fully clear on what they're offering or what they have delivered, and if there aren't other resources the MCIU could access to do something similar, knowing that that's our need and priority.
I agree, and my concern is largely too many cooks in the kitchen if we have this, because we already have, if we have that, then we end up with 5 people running this search, and that just, from experience, having done this a couple times already, that just seems like a lot of people to be working on a search this size.
What do we have to lose with just going with MCIU first? I am of the opinion that the diamonds are in your own backyard. Searching all over, doing a broad search does not mean, oh my God, Eureka, we've got the perfect candidate. I just think we should just focus on what we have right in front of us. If we need to go broader, then we still have time to do that, right?
We do. All good points.
Can I ask a question? So kind of jumping off of that, is there a specific time frame? Like, is there a point at which we are not able to ask for additional support?
I mean, there's a couple of things on that. Number one, you could hypothetically, and I feel like one of you on the board shared this at one point, we could hypothetically start with MCIU and then look to see kind of what reach that we're getting. And then if it looks light, then we could do an intervention there. Some of these things get complicated because we're gonna have to work out this process in a contract and really spell out specific goals. Like right now, we're just talking about who do we want to go with and how do we want to mix this? So we don't have specifics, and I know that's a little tricky, but we'd have to really spell it out. I think the danger of that, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate with a lot of this because I think it's a healthy conversation that we all think through. The devil's advocate is that we do have, the good part is we do have more time than if we started this search in April. That would like put your foot on the gas pedal and go. the hard part about that is we don't have a lot of time. These searches do take time. So there is a negative of not moving forward with a team that is targeted and focused and moving in different directions. And there's a negative of having too many cooks in the kitchen. I hear all of those things. But that would be, if like I framed it as what would be the downside, we'd lose time and we could lose strong candidates for that time of year and go through a longer period without a superintendent in position, in role.
But there's not like I mean, I guess we would create the timeline and we would say at this point, we would reevaluate and say we do or do not need, if we were, this is all hypothetical. Okay.
Yeah, we can do that from the get-go. So say we decide tonight to go with MCIU, we can easily mark that into, this is our game plan. At this point in time, talk to MCIU. If we feel like we don't have a strong push, we either double down with direct marketing or pull in McPherson as a support structure.
Yeah, it seems to me the timelines for industry best practice and building a pool are pretty set forth. And so couldn't we, within the contract, set our expectations for rigor of pool experience, diversity, commitment, like all of the things that we've identified with the help of the community to be most important in the next candidate, and then have some stop gaps if we weren't meeting those benchmarks, explore additional options, which would also give us additional time to see, is McPherson the best choice for national talent, or might there be someone else to pull in if we're really not able to build the pool around our areas that were most important to our community?
Yeah. Anybody from other countries? Melanie or Todd, do you want to add into the conversation? If not, we can go to a vote.
I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're going to use all the resources available to us, being, a national firm plus MCIU, I think we should just go ahead and do it. I don't really like the idea of piecemealing it. Well, let's do it sort of this way, and if it doesn't work, then we'll repost, we'll wait longer, then we'll reevaluate things. That just tells all the local people that you weren't happy with them, and then if you do end up taking them, I don't know, I think either do it or you don't. So I would do some combination, and it doesn't really matter to me who technically leads the thing, as long as the only pause I would have about that, so there's two, you can post nationally and then just passively receive applications from people beyond your region, but what's more effective is to actively recruit people that you know about that are looking, who in your experience you think might be good fits, and you introduce those. So presumably McPherson would still do that even if they weren't in the lead role, although if they have less skin in the game. The only concern is perhaps they might be a little less motivated, but I don't know. Maybe they really are. I mean, I like them. I believe them. I think they were pretty smart folks. So I don't feel super strongly about leading, co-leading, whatever, but I would not piecemeal it out. Either do it or we don't.
May I?
Okay, now I have something to say after Todd. I kind of see what Todd's getting at. That actually does make sense. I'm just wondering, in any agreement, could we include that they would vet together? Let's say they come up with somebody, and they would work together to vet any of them, because MCIU has contacts with people who actually know the superintendents beyond paper. And so I would recommend, if we do that, that would be that they would work together to vet them.
No, I mean, we can clarify that, but yes, absolutely. Shayna?
I don't know. It feels a little like splitting the baby, like we're just not wanting to make a decision here. And what?
No.
Yeah, like it's hard to say somebody likes one thing better, and you don't want to miss out on something. But I will say for myself that I was not as impressed, shall we say mildly, by the way McPherson presented their search process, presented their networking process. And I don't think that we would necessarily inherently get that much more benefit from hiring their firm. I still think that our best bet is to move forward with the MCIU Jeez Louise, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
It's summertime.
So I'm going to put it to a vote. I'm going to start with MCIU because that, at least for what I heard, sounds the strongest. If it doesn't get enough votes, then we'll move on to mixtures of the others, and then we'll go from there. So does that sound fine with everybody?
Well.
Oh, sorry, Ken?
Sorry.
No, you tell me.
No, you need a motion. Somebody needs to
Yeah.
make a motion to fill in that blank with MCIU. Approve contract with MCIU for superintendent search. Actually, I think you don't have a contract yet, so I
No,
would just say approve,
why I didn't say
approve appointment.
For Sewell
with-
contract?
Yeah, approve appointment of MCIU for superintendent search, subject to contract acceptable to board.
I would like to put forth a motion to move forward.
You say so moved. That's all you have to do.
Okay, wait, Jason has a question before you do that.
I think you had said that you were gonna, I didn't know if there was public comment, if you were,
Thank you.
I didn't, you had asked about it, and then I think we got sidetracked. I didn't, okay, we're
I
good.
actually texted Carrie, public comment after the motion, second, discussion, public comment, more discussion.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I appreciate it all. I want all the steps written down, so I have it. Can Anna now just say so moved?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Second.
I'm just making sure when I do discussion.
I said it, you didn't hear me, it's okay.
I heard the second, but do I do a vote or do I do discussion now?
Discussion, public participation, discussion / vote.
Okay. I can go to public comment.
You can go to public comment now.
Okay.
Oh, no, I thought we were voting.
Yeah, we are going to vote, but we want to hear public comment before we make the vote. We want to hear the public before we vote. Okay, Denise, do we have anybody?
Yes, we
Ruth
do.
is ready for us now.
Ruth Jenkins has decided to speak.
I didn't know what was going on until, I can't speak before I have the information. Ruth Jenkins from Wynwood. Couple of things about the candidates. Have you looked at their placement records, where they have placed and how long those superintendents have stayed in those locations? So that's, I think, very important. And as far as local is concerned, you have to take into consideration when people are moving, they're moving their families, and many of them will be unhappy with children coming from different locations, and it may impact their functioning. If the family isn't happy with the move, then the action here is not going to be happy with the move. So I mean, my feeling is that if there's any doubt tonight that it's not necessary to make a final decision at this point, that you can make a temporary revisiting decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. I will answer that. We did look at candidate placement. That was a lot of the additional questions that we had. And like I think Todd explained earlier, they both had really great track records. It's just where they placed candidates from was the debate on the table. So I think the positive is we feel really strong about both of these firms. That's what is making the discussion so robust and wonderful tonight. But it's also, I think it's time to make a decision. So we have a second. All in favor of MCIU as the loan contract? Aye.
Or do we want to do it?
I'm going to do, we can do it this way. All opposed?
Aye.
I'll oppose that.
Jason? Todd?
Todd said opposed.
Yep, I thought you said you. Nope. Okay, Jason and Todd are the two opposed. Any abstentions?
I think I'm going to abstain so that we can hear the other options. I mean, I recognize that I'm in the minority, but no?
If
Okay.
you abstain, then it still passes because then,
We're not going to go to the other options.
then it's 6-3 and that's still majority.
Then I change it to aye.
Motion passes. It's tricky. Oh, gosh, we're not done. Okay, so we will be working next to draft a contract with MCIU that anchors in checkpoints for when we should engage in conversations if we need to for a broader reach. That it's all been agreed on here, and we will bring it back hopefully by the next meeting to be able to pass the contract. Ken, anything I left out?
Nope.
Okay. Now, next, since we are not doing a consent agenda, we are going to walk through the human resource changes. Megan, thank goodness I can turn it over to you.
Happy to take the baton. So the next, or the remainder of this agenda is largely some personnel moves. And before I speak directly to those, I did want to acknowledge the informational items, the death notices that are listed there. I knew both of these individuals and just wanted to acknowledge, in this moment, their commitment to the district, and Ms. Spiegel, who lost her battle with cancer recently and was serving our students, up through the end of this school year. So, I think that's a testament, to her, and hopefully will be part of her legacy here. And just wanted to acknowledge that as certainly was sad news for the entire community. And, our thoughts are with her, continue to be with her family at this time. On to the specific agenda items that we have this evening. As I mentioned earlier, the idea that I came to this position with and to move the work forward is what is going to help us create the stability we need to open our schools successfully in light of the transitions ahead of us that we're looking forward to. And I think we have a lot of excitement around full-day kindergarten, our change in start times. So I'm going to go through and explain generally what those recommendations are, and we'll, continue to share out with our staff and the community, more specifics as they relate to, maybe someone's job or their experience as a parent or a student in the district. So with that, this evening, I'm going to cover a few of them and talk more generally about some backfill positions. First, I'd like to start off by sharing that I'll be recommending and have recommended on this agenda that Scott Weinstein move from his role as principal at Harriton High School to serve as acting assistant to the superintendent. And he'll largely be overseeing the work previously supported by Dr. McGloin and to some degree my position as assistant to the superintendent. And as a seasoned building leader who has worked at all levels across Lower Merion School District, elementary, middle, and high school, Scott brings a wealth of experience and depth of knowledge as to what's happening in our schools and how we can best serve students here, and particularly in this moment of transition will certainly be an asset to our central office team. As a result of that, and I acknowledge that for Harriton, that's certainly a loss for their team, but I'm very happy to recommend that current assistant superintendent, Stu Warsher. Sorry about that. Maybe next year.
Quite the motion.
Assistant principal, Stu Warshauer will serve as interim principal. That's my recommendation, as well as Patrick Snyder moving into the role as interim assistant principal. And he currently serves Harriton as department chair. So that's, in addition to that, we'll bring in staff to fill in Patrick Snyder's position. So there is a little bit of movement there. And again, apologies to Harriton, but I know you're set up with excellent staff to cover this interim assignment. In the Student Services Department, I'm recommending Gina Verkler, who currently serves as the Special Education Coordinator for grades 4 through 6, to serve as interim Special Education Supervisor for grades 4 through 6. She replaces Beth Cavalier, who sadly will be leaving us to assume a role at the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit. Maybe she'll help with the search. So we, again, will have another position to backfill there. Happy to have Gina serve in that capacity. She has years of experience with the district, and I know that people value her leadership. At Lower Merion High School, Dr. Lauren Hopkins, with tonight's approval, will continue to serve as interim assistant principal, filling in for Mr. Scott Kilpatrick, who has submitted his resignation following many years of dedicated service to Lower Merion High School. We intend to fill Dr. Hopkins' role as well in the near future. And then two other positions, which are sort of contract-based positions I wanted to make note of. One is, again, unfortunately, we accepted the retirement, you all accepted the retirement of George Frazier. You could have voted against it, but it was accepted, and his term will end mid next month, and at a time, again, of transition opening schools. As we are looking for a replacement for him, he has graciously agreed to help us out in a contract role so that things like, should CrowdStrike happen again or other unexpected events, that we have his experience and knowledge to navigate those situations in the months ahead. So again, that's a recommended action item for this evening. And finally, I'm pleased to share that I'm recommending Mark Klein, who has previously served the district in various capacities. He was also the former superintendent at Council Rock, but under Mr. Copeland's leadership, he came in and assumed various roles, including an interim director of human resources, I believe director of elementary education, and so forth. So with my position not being fully filled at this moment, he will be an asset to the organization and fill some gaps that will help us get through these next couple of months. So he is titled an administrative consultant, but I believe he will be ready and poised to step into situations that I would normally be navigating in my prior role. So those are the highlights of the recommended action items on the personnel side. And as we continue to assess needs, which we'll continue to do as an organization, we may revisit some of those opportunities to fill gaps if needed moving forward. But in the meantime, I'm extremely confident in putting this team together as an interim measure to support the volume of work that we have in front of us. So it's certainly my, yes, without wrapping up quite yet, there will be a not to exceed amount of $35,000 on Mark Klein's contract. This will then be reevaluated at some point to determine whether there are other needs that we have at a point later. So for now, that is the not to exceed number for that particular contract, and looking forward to the board's support of those action items. Thank you.
Thank you for walking us through all of those things. Are there any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank our staff district-wide for their flexibility and their grace in this complex time of transition that we're going through. I know it's asking a lot of you, and I know everyone is doing their best for our kids, and I see you, so thank you.
Thank you, Shana. Anyone else? Good. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you all very much for the work that you have already started and you're going to be doing. We really appreciate this transition help. And George, you may never be able to leave us, just to be clear. Thank you all very much. Now I think we are ready to.
Letter F, transfer.
Mine looks different.
It's the Exploration Staffing Services Agreement.
Okay, good line.
Do we have any questions?
I thought, just to be clear, you approved C through G just now.
Yep.
Okay, just, we wanted to make sure we were clear.
Yep.
Okay.
You're jumping in now. Yeah, sorry.
Just explain what's that.
Everybody has a different thing.
apologize.
And then we'll just make sure there's no questions in the chat after this, and then we'll jump in.
We could, so the one I failed to mention more specifically in my highlight reel was the exploration staffing services agreement for a transportation consultant. This is connected to our work in operationalizing our new start times, and in particular with respect to some routing support that we need to make sure, or to do our best to make sure that all of those not only our routes to and from school, but our ancillary routes, and I'll describe that largely as the ones that are for extracurriculars and other, work that we do beyond the school day in service of our students. So this is to help support our routing department, given all of the changes that we're working through right now. So that is the support, and that is being provided by, again, one of our former staff members that has expertise in this area. So that will also create some nice efficiencies in our system as well.
And for everyone else looking, it's a not to exceed 60 hours.
That was already approved but not explained, correct?
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, as was the 35,000 for D.
It's always good. Thank you so much for diving into it. Appreciate it. No, because we didn't check the last time. Let's just make sure we don't have any comments from the chat, because we said we'd promise. Okay, great.
Well, just to be honest, I opened it back up again because it gets closed after the 10-minute time frame. So I opened it back up again, and I don't see anything, but if
Great.
you have something else to share, I'll.
This is the fun of July meetings. We get to be a little zany. Okay, so the next meeting will be held in this room on Thursday, August 15th. Nope.
Yes, I'm sorry. Don't forget, we do need to announce exec sessions. That's not on the agenda, but it does need to be announced.
Great. Okay, so would you like to talk about Sunshine and exec session?
I can do that. The exec sessions were held on July 9th and July 29th regarding personnel matters.
Thank you again. Really appreciate keeping us all open and honest. Okay, people, the next meeting will be held in this room, I believe on August 15th. It will be facilities and purchasing at 8:30 a.m. And then the meeting after that will be Monday, August 19th. It's the regular business board meeting at 7 p.m. We'll see you then. Thank you all very much and congratulations. And we appreciate you all for all the extra work that you're doing. Thank you.